What's up, peoples? Shit fell over. But anyway, what's up, peoples? I am back. We're gonna start reviewing a new franchise today. Since we're getting close to finishing off Chucky next week, we're gonna be reviewing this. We're gonna start the Scream franchise. The franchise that pretty much got me into horror. Like, yeah, I watched the Chucky movies, but I didn't expand to the other characters. Scream is kind of what did it because Scream, had obviously the whole meta thing. So you reference that in this universe, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, all of those are just movies. So I remember when I first watched Scream, I was channel surfing one day on the movie channels and just Scream came up and I just stayed and watched and it got me the first time. Obviously the later times it didn't really scare me, but that first time it did. So I remember I really loved this franchise and just got more into the other movies. So I eventually just that's when it Scream did get me into discovering Halloween and Friday the 13th, like to where I started getting into the franchise and now I'm a horror fan I am now. So Scream is what did it. I think Scream came out in the year I was born, 1996. This was like you got to remember at the time slashers had kind of waned a little bit because as much as I love Halloween 6, a lot of people didn't. You had Jason Goes to Hell. You had Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but that wasn't Mark. It wasn't like a regular slasher film. So slasher films had kind of gone down because you got to also remember Jurassic Park in '93 kind of made sci-fi like sci-fi. I feel like made a little bit of a resurgence after that. So it was Scream that kind of brought slashers back, and that's when we started getting like a lot of people call them like the MTV slashers, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, um, Urban Legend, Valentine, like stuff like that. Even Halloween H2O. So, but I love this fucking film. This film I can watch like all the time. I can watch this film all the time. It's such a classic. So we open in the opening alone with Drew Barrymore, who at the time was a bigger name actress than Nev Campbell. A lot of people were thinking she was gonna be the main girl. Nope. That whole opening just was so genius with Roger L. Jackson, who does the Ghostface voice. That whole opening, it started so innocent. Like what's your favorite scary movie? It seemed all chill, and then more and more slowly. Wes Craven built that tension up to where it was revealed that no, I'm a killer and I'm gonna gut you like a fish. Like lines like that. It's like, and I actually thought Drew Barrymore did a great job. Like the way she reacted to that when he said that, like that was believable. And I think that's the other aspect of Scream. Scream has a believable element. There could be a guy who can just get a ghost face costume and call you before he kills you. Like he does, and also he doesn't kill you like Michael Myers or Jason. And then the whole reveal with her boyfriend being tied up was also really good. You know, just and then the whole quiz section of the game, and then like the delivery of like I want to play a game, and then when she gets the question wrong, and it was such a trick question, like who's the killer in Friday the 13th, and he was tricking her. It was the first movie he was asking about, not the whole franchise. So that's how her boyfriend Steven died, and it was just such a really good, well done edit. And it's pretty violent. Like you see his intestines hanging out, and then he asks her one final question, like where what door, and then she doesn't answer. He throws the chair at the door, and then proceeds to have like a really good chase scene, and pretty much he kills her. And then her parents come in, and then just see that like because she was making popcorn, so the popcorn was on fire, and she was still on the phone. You can hear her parents can like hear her kind of like basically moaning, not moaning, but like like little stuff like that. Like you basically tell she's dying. It was, and then she unmasks him even, and they do a good job of not showing it, and he still kills her. And then her parents finding her body just hanging on a fucking tree. It was really, I even think the parents did a good job of acting. That Ryan fucking Johnson is how you subvert expectations. Because everyone was thinking, because Drew Barrymore was a bigger name at the time than Nev Campbell was. Nev Campbell had only did the TV show Party of Five. She didn't have a big. It wasn't until this movie. I know she did The Craft the same year, but The Craft she was a side character. She wasn't even one of the main witches in that movie. If anything, I think what was that girl's name? Fuck, I can't think of her name. But the girl in that movie, the main leader chick in that of the vampire or the not vampires, the witches, was a bigger name. Like I feel like so Nev Campbell wasn't even like the main one in that. So this was her first really big film where she was the lead. And my god, I think she delivers. So this is where we're introduced to Sydney and Billy. You see how their relationship is. You even just see the effects a little bit of like her mom was killed a year before. So, and I even like that this film does a good job of giving you the lore. And this is the opening film, and they already have a lot of background, like Sydney's mom, her relationship with Billy, and then this is where we introduce her dad. Basically, is leaving town. Then Billy wants more of a obviously more than like he wants more sex, obviously. I think Skeet Ulrich killed it as Billy, and we're gonna get to it, in the end. But I think he does a good job, and then so he leaves. She lashes her boobs really quick. Then then we cut to the school, and this is where we're introduced to Rose McGowan. And Rose McGowan, you see her now, man. I don't know what happened, but Rose McGowan, aka Tatum, who's Dewey's sister, who I think she also does a pretty good job of playing her friend, tells Sid about the murders, and then we get a quick flash of her in class, but then she has to go do the principal, and the principal of the school is fucking Henry Winkler, aka the Fonz. I actually think he does a good job as the principal. He doesn't do a lot in the movie, but then we're introduced to the main group, Randy, who, in my opinion, a lot of people's eyes was one of their favorite parts of this movie was Randy, because the whole scene with the rules. So we're introduced to Randy. We're introduced to Stu, played by Matthew Lillard. Really good cast, man. I do really one thing I will say. I think there should have been more scenes with them as a group because we only get them as a group in this scene. I like the dynamic, basically Randy kind of accusing. This is where we find out that he did date Casey Becker, but then they broke up. I like their little. Stu and Randy have a really good dynamic. So they make kind of off collar jokes, and Sid leaves. That's kind of it. The beginning is a little slow, like outside of but it gets to the point clearly. Like Sid comes home, we see Gail Weathers on the television, so that's kind of her introduction to her a little bit, and then she basically goes to sleep, takes a nap. She wakes up, gets a call that she's gonna. So it turns out she's gonna be staying at Tatum's house. So that happens, and then she gets a call. It's the killer. Really good scene because she thinks it's Randy, and then it's not, and then he antagonizes her with talking about her mom, and then he asks her if he wants, and then she hangs up, and then fucking obviously chase happens. Killer has her down. Is about to stab her. She kicks him off her, and then she runs upstairs and manages to lock the door. The killer disappears, and then Billy comes through. Really, I thought this scene was executed well, just because everything seems fine, and then Billy drops the phone, and she thinks it's him. The cops show up, and this is basically when we're introduced to Dewey, and they take in Randy. I mean, not Randy. They take in Billy because they think it's him, and then they go to the police station. Gail arrives, and basically they question Billy, I think Billy's performance here is pretty good. Like, just pretty mild. Like, oh, I didn't kill anybody. Like, and his dad was there, so it was kind of cool. You got to see his dad for like a second. Then Gale and Dewey, not Gale, Sid and Tatum and Dewey leave, and they're going into the side. Gale tries to basically interview Sydney. Sydney punches her in the face, then leaves, and then we cut to they're at Tatum's house spending the night, and then they get a call from the killer again, and this is where it basically it seemingly confirms that Billy wasn't the killer. So really, and then next morning, you have that basically that red right hand kind of tune that you see basically throughout the films. So it turns out there's gonna be a curfew, and we get our quick glimpse of Cotton Weary, who they think killed Sydney's mom, who on the television really quick, and pretty much is that. Dewey takes them, Sid and Tatum to school. Sid confronts Gale about basically Gale thinks that Sydney was a liar and that she was lying about it wasn't Cotton, that somebody else killed her, and basically you're getting a little bit about her. But no, Cotton didn't rape your mom. That he hooked up with her, and Sydney doesn't want to believe it. Really good scene. Like I said, you get backgrounds of what's going on in this story with just the first movie. There's so much going on. Part of me would love to like a prequel movie where we see it, not like about her mother, but like about the events prior to this film, like leading up to her mom being murdered. I would not mind a film about that. So Sydney walks off. There's some pranksters dressing up as Ghostface. Sydney runs off, runs into Billy. Billy tries to tell her like, no, I didn't do it, and she doesn't think he did it, but she's still like obviously not in the mood to be romantic, and you know he tries to tell her like, your mom died, you got to kind of move on from it, and then she kind of, you know, really good scene like from both, and then basically Sydney walks off, she goes to the bathroom. Really, you kind of get like a little Mean Girl scene where you got this like girl cheerleader shit talking Sydney. I'm like, fuck this bitch. Every time I watch that scene, that's all I think. Not gonna lie though, this film. Shit. After watching this film, I'm not gonna lie, this film kind of gave me a crush on Nev Campbell. It made me watch other Nev Campbell movies. Like I watched other movies that they wouldn't even be my type of movie. But continuing on, so Gale runs into Dewey, so we get a little bit of that tease of their relationship. Then oh, I should have mentioned, yeah, the killer attacked her in the bathroom, but it is up in the air if that was a prankster or if that was the actual killer. So that happened. So it turns out the school will be getting out early because of the curfew. So school's let out, and basically, Stu's gonna throw a party, and so everybody can basically be safe and be together. This is where we get a little Wes Craven cameo, and his name is Freddy. He's wearing like the Freddy sweater. So little, I like that little cameo. Uh, the principal gets killed by the killer. Pretty quick death. It wasn't too over the top or anything. Then Sydney talks to Tatum about her mom, and then that's that. And then they leave for the party and stuff, or get ready for the party. Then Randy and Stu, really probably one of my favorite scenes in the fucking film. Just Randy and Stu's conversation on who the killer is. Randy thinks it's Billy, and then Stu thinks it's Sid's dad. I really like, and then Billy kind of grabs and kind of says, "Oh, it could be you," kind of type of deal. But to be fair, this is a good scene, but it does kind of make it obvious it's Billy. It makes it odd. I will say though, when I found, I was shocked that there was two killers, and I'm just gonna spoil it. This film's as old as me, 25 years old, so it's not a spoiler. So that was a good scene. Then Sid and Tatum go to a store, and then Ghostface, basically you see him kind of following them throughout the film. Then Dewey and has a conversation with the chief, who they're starting to suspect it's her dad. Who her dad basically is the red herring of the movie. So then basically we go to the party. The whole party scene, you don't realize that whole party scene's like an hour almost. It's like pretty much the last chunk of the movie. So Tatum arrives at and Sid arrive at the party. Gale and Dewey kind of go to the party together. You have a lot of references to other movies, like they referenced Terror Train. I think there's another. I think they referenced Prom Night, a few Jamie Lee Curtis movies, and they turned out to watch Halloween. So Tatum, Stu asks Tatum to get beer, and this is where we get Tatum's death scene's a bit kind of little over the top. So the killer shows up, locks her in. She thinks it's someone playing around with her, but then the killer tries to kill her. She throws like beers at him. Then she trips and then she tries to climb out of that cat hole, but she gets stuck. And then Ghostface pushes the button, lifts her, and she basically breaks her. Okay, this I can suspend my disbelief to a certain extent. And if this was like a Friday the 13th or a Nightmare, I wouldn't even think this is over the top. But this Scream is supposed to have some kind of realism to it. How the fuck, even if it's a full grown high school girl, I'm sorry, that elevator would have broke. That would not have carried her to where it would have killed. No. But anyway, so Tatum dies. I think they should have just had it to where Tatum just got stabbed. I get it. We saw a few people get stabbed already, so Wes was like, we can't just keep doing stabbings over and over again. So I get it. You can't. You want to be somewhat creative with the kills because it's not like Michael Myers or Jason where you can be creative because they're kind of tanks, so you can have them do some kills where it's a little bit unbelievable. But so yeah, it just didn't make sense. Okay, so Tatum dies. Then Billy arrives. Billy and Sid talk and basically have sex while this is happening. This is where we get the rules scene. I really love this scene where Randy goes off about the rules of the horror. Don't drink or do drugs. Don't say I'll be back. And then Stu goes off and says I'll be back. Kind of funny little scene. And then they're watching Halloween. So it's kind of cool to have the original Halloween just on in the background. Then Dewey and Gale are just kind of investigating, walking around, and basically it's them teasing. It's teasing their relationship. Then they get a call about, Principal Hembry being dead. The kids kind of run off and get in their cars and drive off. They While they drive off, basically drunk driving. Gale and Dewey get out of the way. They hook up really quick, but then they see that it's uh, Sid's dad's car. So Gale and Sid, not Gale, Billy and Sid get through having sex, but Sydney is still questioning, be like, who did you call? And basically still kind of making it seem like she thinks it's him still. And then Ghostface shows up, kills him in quotes, and I'm gonna get to why in quotes in a second. And then we have pretty much a chase, and I really do dig this chase. Like, so she's able to climb down the house, and this is where she sees Tatum's body. So Sid knocks on the van where Kenny, the Gale's cameraman, is at. And he's watching because she has a secret camera recording, and she sees Randy sleeping. And I like the little like meta humor where, because he's watching Halloween, he's like, "Watch out, Jamie," and that's Jamie Kennedy. So I like little things like that. But then Ghostface hears Sydney scream, so Ghostface kills Kenny, the cameraman, by slitting his throat. Then she gets stabbed and proceeds to run off. So pretty much a big chase scene in the last little bit. Dewey investigates the house, and everything seems normal. So Gale gets back in her van and crashes it because she sees Sid, but then she ends up veering off and crashing into a tree. Sydney tries to get back in the house, and Dewey walks out, and then Dewey falls, and he has a knife in his back. Dewey should have died in this movie, and I'll probably get that in the second one. But so Dewey gets stabbed and he falls, and Ghostface chases her into a car, into Dewey's police jeep. She tries to get out, but Ghostface has the keys and he tries to get in and attack her, and then she runs out of the car. And this is pretty much the last time we see Ghostface in the costume. Then fucking Billy and not Billy, Stu and Randy come out, and she thinks it's both of them. So, and they're trying to frame each other, so she just locks them both out. Do Billy comes down the stairs, seemingly still alive, and she gives him the gun, and then he lets Randy in, and then Randy's trying to say Stu's gone mad, and then you get the line from I think Psycho. We all go a little mad sometimes, and then Billy shoots him, and then he basically admits, "Oh, this is corn syrup." And then this is where we get the reveal that it's Billy and Stu. I think this is well executed. Like when you watch it, you know it's them. And then, like I said, I mentioned the scene where they were kind of like Billy was kind of fucking with Randy. You kind of can get the sense he's the killer, but I still think this reveal is perfect. Stu gets the knife and Billy gives him the gun, and then this is where we get the reveal that the reason they're the ones who killed Sydney's mother, not Cotton. They framed Cotton because, and you're gonna get bigger backstory when we get to Scream 3, but Billy says they did it because Billy was mad at still because Cotton was having an affair with Billy's mom, which no, I get that wrong. Maureen was having an affair with Cotton, but also having an affair with Billy's father, thus which led his mom to run off on him. And I'm gonna get to kind of ranting on his mom in the second film, but really good reveal. Basically, and then they pull. It turns out they have had Sydney's dad handcuffed the whole time in a closet, and then basically the plan is they're gonna stab each other, make each other look injured, and then make it look like it was Billy's dad who did the murders. But then they kind of turn on each other. Then Billy ends up stabbing Stu too deeply. Stu, Sydney Gail shows up, still alive, but Gail has a gun, but the gun is on safety. She is taken out. Then Sydney is hiding, and then she basically is taking the Ghostface costume and then the voice changer. And then Billy's freaking out, and you get this line was ad-lib. Billy throws the phone at Stu, and Stu's like, "You threw a phone at me, you dick." I forgot what the line was. It was very ad-lib because they're covered in corn syrup. It slipped off. "Hit me with a phone, dick." That was the line. That was ad-libbed. And they kept that in. So Billy gets taken out by Sydney in the Ghostface costume. Then Stu tries to attack her. He has her down. Then he's like, "I always had a thing for her." And then she hits something over him. And then she says, "In your dreams," throws a TV on him. Seemingly basically dies. But there's this movement, and I'll get to in the later films. But everything seems fine. Stu punches Randy, who's still alive, has Sydney down, is about to stab her, then Gail shows up and shoots him, and then Sydney takes the gun and basically shoots him in the head. And this is basically where the film ends. Scream is an awesome film. Awesome film, awesome cast. It's a perfectly paced movie. It doesn't get boring. The kills Casey and Stu's, and Casey and fucking Steven's death are probably Casey and Steve's death is probably the best kill of the whole movie. Her performance in that I think is really underappreciated. I mean, we all appreciate the scene and the kill because of how it subverted our expectations in the right way, not like The Last Jedi. But I gotta give Drew her performance there. Sydney's performance was awesome. And Sydney's one of my favorite. She's my favorite final girl and one of my favorite female characters in a movie. This is how you do female characters. She's not over the top. She doesn't instantly know everything. She's not instantly smart or good at everything. She has to adapt. And Gale was awesome. I mean, I think Gale's better in some of the later ones, to be honest. Because this isn't a Gale centric movie. I think the first one's more about Sid. Same thing with Dewey. I think Dewey does a bit better in the later ones. I feel like in this is more about Sydney. I love Randy, and I love every. I think Skeet Ulrich does a great job as Stu. I mean, as Billy, and it sucks he dies because I would have liked to see more of him. But Scream's one of my favorite films, and unofficially it's my favorite slasher. Halloween officially is, but this one will always have a deep place in my heart. This I would not even be a Halloween fan if I didn't watch Scream. I mean, Ghostface isn't necessarily a real character. He's more of like an idea because it's just anybody under the costume, but it still works. Ghostface still works, and um, it's very simple. And like I said, this film did give a resurgence to slashers, even if they were kind of MTV like. But still, I overall love this film, and I will probably continue on. So I will out of 10. I'd give this film like I gotta give it a 10. It's for a slasher. This film is awesome. So I'd advise watch it if you haven't. And I think this is a good if you want to get an intro to slashers. Watch this. It's not overly scary. I mean, the kills aren't over the top either. There's not a lot. Like I think the only kill that has a lot of blood, I would say, is like the Casey and Steve. But really, when you get past that, it doesn't get overly bloody. So watch this film. I'm gonna take a hit and then play us out. So tomorrow I am gonna, like last week, since I did a horror soundtracks, I'm just gonna do soundtracks. So I'm gonna do that next week. Tomorrow, I mean. So it'll probably be, it'll either between 5, maybe 10, top 10 soundtracks in a movie. Hold on. Anyway. Alright, guys. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace.